Real estate. Typically not the most sexy topic, but if anybody is going to make real estate sexy again, it is our guest today, LJ Aguinaga. We're excited to dive in all things real estate. Welcome to another episode of Montreal's Elite Unleashed. Guys, welcome back to another episode of Montreal's Elite Unleashed. I'm your host, Logan Boyce, alongside, as per usual, Johathan Ehrlick. Today we have the pleasure of discussing real estate with none other than LJ Aguinaga. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cool, man. So let's dive in, man. How did you get into real estate? Why did you get into real estate? Let's go for it.
All right. So in my last year of CEGEP, my dad confronted me. He said, look, you have two options. You're starting university next semester or next year, and you can continue working part-time jobs at the mall, summer camps, whatever the heck you want, or you can get your real estate license and you can help me out. You're going to work evenings and weekends, working with first-time buyers, whatever else we got going on, and you can learn the business that way. It works for your university schedule because you're going to work the off hours. It works for your playing baseball and whatnot because I'm more flexible than your typical employer is going to be.
Yep.
And you're going to learn some skills in doing so that after university, you can decide if you want to go the corporate road, you want to go down real estate, whatever it might be, you're going to have experienced more things.
Right.
So my last semester in CEGEP, I'm doing honors health science in the morning, and then I'm doing real estate school at LaSalle at night. So I'm flipping from Dawson to LaSalle College and just kind of doing this every day.
Yeah, okay.
Do that, write the exam. This is 2008, so we're really going back here as well, right? I've been licensed for 15 years now. And do that throughout all university. And it was a great gig for me. It gave me the flexibility. I got to learn a lot about the market. I got to learn about financing, real estate, all these things, and kind of understand all that. Fast forward to my last semester of university, and now it's like, okay, let's go to Europe for a summer, play professional baseball, come back, and then I'm going to figure out my life. So do that.
I'm sorry, did you just
wait, what?
Yeah.
Let's, whoa.
I'm just going to play professional baseball.
Real quick, going to go be a pro athlete, but then maybe decide what?
So part of I grew up playing baseball, right? I lived in Miami for 9 years. So from the time I was 6, I was playing summer, winter baseball because there's no winter down there, obviously.
Right.
Nice, yeah.
And get back to Montreal, continue the passion, continue playing, end up playing for McGill University over here.
Okay.
The season before my last, one of my buddies had gone out to Switzerland and got the gig playing pro baseball out there. I went to go visit him that summer because why not go to Switzerland to visit your buddy? And then started to make some connections, and then he queued it up for me. I spoke to a couple of teams, and I got a call the next, or that fall, if you will, to queue it up like, hey, we'd like you to come play for us next season. So I finished university December. I go down to Peru from January to March to basically just train, get in shape, kind of get ready to rock and roll. And I'm in Switzerland in April.
So were those Swiss teams doing their kind of training camp in Peru?
No, they were all there. It was just I had off time, so I was like, let's go down first of all where it's summer in Peru during those months. No point in being in Montreal for that. And I can just focus on getting ready for my season, essentially. So it was like another off-season prepping before going down there. Do that, spend a summer in Europe, essentially getting paid to play baseball, have fun, travel around Europe. Also coach the U18 Swiss national team while we were down there for a tournament in France. So just a lot of experience, a lot of fun things that we were doing. Then I get back to Montreal and kind of like reset, recalibrate. It's like, okay, I've done that. It's been fun. I don't have the skill set to go play in the MLB. So this is why the European kind of deflection worked. You know what? Let's do real estate for real. Let's kind of dive in and no longer just do it part-time and really kind of focus and make this my day-to-day business and start working on all my skills and growing from there. So start going down that path. And at the time we were at a RE/MAX office essentially, and we had saw how much we'd paid basically the year prior and what we were getting in exchange for that. Yeah. And I sit down with my dad's like, you have to sit down and be able to get your agency executive officer because this doesn't make any sense. We're not getting anything in return for what we're putting in. We're the top producer at the office every single year. And there's a better way. Like there's got to be a better way, you know?
It's like you open the cabinet, everything falls on you. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah. So I go, I write that test. And again, back then things were a little bit different than what they are now, but I end up getting my license for that. Yeah. Go through the process, open up the agency. And that's kind of what's bring roles into opening up an agency. It was started off under that premise. We do that. Now we're 2013, March.
So hold on. So you made the decision to walk away from RE/MAX, and we always encounter, because we meet tons of agents every single week, and the normal kind of thought process is, I can't leave RE/MAX because they're glorious and they're the reason I'm successful. But you didn't seem to have that thought process whatsoever.
So our thought process was we were working primarily, especially my father, with the Hispanic community of Montreal.
Yeah.
They didn't know who, what, where. The brand wasn't RE/MAX for us.
Yeah.
The brand was my father and how many people he had helped. And how, I mean, you give people you make buying a property accessible, really the North American dream accessible to especially the Latin community who's literally left everything behind Latin America to come to North America, like family, everything they knew, loved ones, etc. And you make owning a property a possibility for them, they're almost forever indebted to you, you know?
Okay.
And we were able to really build out a huge referral basis because of that.
That's amazing.
So that was the initial basis of the business, and it gave me great exposure working with first-time buyers because, as you know, I mean, you get to manage emotions, you get to manage text schedules. I mean, back in that day, that was before virtual signatures. So I remember driving around to get a signature for every single document, every single counter offer, everything.
We're both in that same realm when we were licensed before virtual signatures or digital signatures, what are you going to call it?
You don't know how easy you have it.
Exactly. I tell them all the time, like, dude, I used to drive from Laval back to Pointe Claire, over to Vaudreuil, back to Pointe Claire. It was brutal.
I remember nights just literally going to pick up Timmy's because I got another 3 hours of driving ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Get 2 more signatures, and like, you know, you're coming back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. because you're going to get a counter back.
Yeah.
Like, so
that's got to change the landscape of negotiations entirely. It's like, can we just do this in one? Like, can we just
But it
not
wasn't the
make
case.
3?
I remember back then it was almost like we're going to have 4 counters. Like, I know this is happening. This is just how it's going to go down.
But I did try to make it one. I'd always arrive to a place with a promise to purchase or a second one ready to go, just so I wouldn't have to get a counter. I'd be like, listen, if you're going to go this, I have this pre-signed. That was a pretty common thing that I used to do. I didn't want to go back and forth.
We'd have a second CP sometimes, like, just ready to rock and roll.
Of course.
Like, we're going to have to play the game. Okay, let's play it, but let's save me.
Gas was cheaper, but
hey, there you go. Exactly.
It was, counterbalance. So go through that, get the experience. And then from there, start building out this idea of opening up an agency, and really just started off as like, we're going to just do this for ourselves. Not even going to branch out, not really offering this to anybody else.
Which is really common. Like, a lot of people do that.
Exactly. You know? And it starts off, things are going all right. And at the same time, a little bit of backstory, my dad's like, hey, we should open up an office in Peru because, like, I still have all my contacts down there. I still have everything set up down there. So actually, while I was down there that January to March, I got licensed in Peru so we can open up the office. So that happened in parallel. Great. The offices started getting opening. We started hiring brokers, and that's kind of all being done from a distance. And my dad says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go down. I think it was like April of 2014 or so. I'm going to go down to kind of spend some time down there and kind of help develop that for a little bit. Lo and behold, my dad ends up moving to Peru. That's kind of the transition from going down for a business trip, and then, you know what? This is how it's going to play out. I end up, all right, well, I'm managing real estate in Montreal. Like, that's how this is going to go down, right? So we start building that side out and really get diving deeper and deeper into this. Start looking for mentors, start looking for coaching, start looking to develop the business beyond just what I had known of first-time buyers. I also was blessed to work with some of my friends who were investors in real estate. So through university, I had a couple clients who were buying multiplexes in the McGill Ghetto area.
Nice.
Around Point St. Charles back then. I remember we did a deal on a triplex that my client bought for $320,000.
Oh my God, shut up. That's crazy.
And I mean, most people didn't even want to go down there. Like, the property market for like 5 months, you know, nobody wanted a piece of this action.
Yep.
And I'd seen how he turned that around, and then kind of developed the next property. We bought one in the Plateau, and then kind of started seeing that. So I was working with that group, which was super a great learning experience. I got to learn about how that worked. It also got me curious into buying real estate because I'm like, we're been friends for the last 15 years, went through all the same kind of studying education, if you will, and I'm seeing what he's building very, very quickly. I can definitely do this as well. You know, and that's where it kind of flipped. Like, that's a lifestyle shift that can definitely be made. And at the time, they were still doing a lot of the work themselves. Like, they were still very much putting in the sweat equity and kind of getting it all done. But it was great to see that and get that perspective on things as well.
Yeah.
So that was like buy and holds or like flipping?
No, all optimization, BRRRRs, what we call now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I used to call it the rinse and repeat method, and they're like, oh, we call it BRRRRs. Okay, cool. Let's go with that now.
Yeah.
You know, but get licensed on that, understand that whole side of things.
For people who don't know what BRRRRs are.
Yeah, it's good
break
to
that down?
yeah.
So the BRRRR is the buy, renovate, refinance, and rent and refinance, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a process that you're going to do to optimize the value of a property and basically, hopefully, pull out all your money, or at least most of it, and then get to reinvest it in the next product and move forward.
Credit to your buddies, because that's incredibly difficult to pull off in Montreal.
It was, and it was eye-opening, you know, at the time, to see what they were doing, the properties we were buying in core areas, and then some of the properties we sold and kind of the gains on them.
They were dumps when they bought them, I imagine.
Yeah, they were your classic 1915 property in the Plateau,
right?
That needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And go in there and kind of they optimize the student rental model.
Yeah.
So how many rooms can we get out of this? Clean it up so it's nice and clean and presentable. That a student's going to be happy being there. That all the parents are paying for the rents. That we're going to make crazy money on them.
Yeah.
And as time passes, we're going to be able to use these evaluations to really get into bigger properties, better refinances, etc.
Well, and the rents that they were getting on those are absurd.
Because at the time, nobody could believe
ridiculous.
It. Yeah. Nobody could believe it, right? Because it was like it was between $800 to $1,000 a bedroom, essentially.
That's insane.
And these properties had previously rented for $650 for the whole apartment. Like, these are kind of the metrics we were working with here, right? And you're like 3 to 4 bedrooms on average. Like, it was mind blowing. So start working really and start developing obviously more and more business, growing the numbers. And at the time, like I hadn't been tracking. I didn't know. I remember going to a closing one day and I'm there with a broker and he's like, yeah, like my goal for the year was 50 sales. And I was like, 50 sales? Wow, that's insane. That's so many. How could you possibly make that a goal? How are you going to? And that started to take me off down the whole personal development and growth. And I met with Rock and he kind of like, I remember being proud. I think this was like in 2015 or so. I go and I meet with him because he calls me in for a meeting and I was like, sure, let's see what you have to say. He's like, so what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, like I have a pretty good year. Like I think I made like 175 grand as a 25-year-old. So I thought I was hot shit.
Hell yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
He looks at me, he's like,
making 200 grand.
That's it? Like that's your achievement? And I was like, what do you mean? Like I thought, he's like, yeah, like that's cool and all, but like there's a lot more you can be doing. Like you're nowhere near the ceiling. Like this is just the beginning of it. Like, and that started opening some doors and opened my eyes to a couple different things and brought me down further the rabbit hole into learning and really growing my craft, understanding what we need, developing systems, putting things into place, templates, checklists, procedures, everything, kind of building it out slowly but surely. So now the agency starts hiring a couple brokers, people reach out to me and be like, yeah, sure, you want it? No problem, we can do this. And then in 2018, I'd say after meeting with Jeff, after going down to a couple different things, I was like, no, okay, we're really going to run this as a teamerage, essentially. So if you're coming on board, you're going to be into our system, into our rules, into our everything. And we do things very different than your traditional place. Like we have a daily stand up every morning at 9 a.m. You're going to be on the call. We're going to see what's happening. We're going to check in on our files that are pending, active, etc. We have weekly meetings. There's a lot, very different expectations. Not for everybody, but I promise you that if you buy in, you're going to come out a lot stronger than you started, And I hire our first broker for that in 2018. Somebody refers somebody to me. We have lunch. It works out great. And then we start working together on that front. I had one admin at the time. And then market starts picking up. We start doing more business. That starts growing. Somebody else reaches out. They become a weekend admin because they're doing their real estate course at the time. Weekend admin to transition to becoming a full-time broker, to learn paperwork, to learn all this kind of thing. It was an easy way to get people to understand the business in the background while still being in class. Yep. And then we grow to a second broker, third broker, second admin, fourth broker, fifth broker, go down that road, decide like, hey, okay, now we're doing, I think we've done about 120 to 152 transactions that year. Being like, all right, let's add, like we had subcontractors for marketing help for different things, stuff of that nature. Let's bring marketing in-house. Let's start doubling down on all of our kind of processes and systems. We started doing video along the way, kind of investing that size. Yeah. And to me, it's always been very focused on education. I was like, if we can teach people how this all works, people are going to be loyal to us. People are going to be very grateful. As long as we make sure that we're kind of bring a lot of integrity forward, always looking to help people, everything else is going to figure itself out. Just be available, be present, make sure you have your client's best interests at heart, and try to teach something new every single day when you're doing this, And that was the approach. And that's kind of what we stuck to our guns with, and that's what we started doing.
How many agents do you have now?
Right now, we are currently 4.
Yep.
Right. So it's been a year, obviously, with a lot of change in the market. So
of course,
So there's been a lot of shifts in that regard. Recruiting is going to be a big focus of 2024.
Yep.
We've kind of been doubling down on procedures and systems, kind of getting everything rocking and rolling, and now really putting people into the system and just having them focus on building their business.
So it sounds like you've done a tremendous amount of work helping brokers that are coming into your team succeed. So on the vein of helping brokers, anybody who's thinking about getting into real estate that's listening to this right now or watching this right now, what would be the one thing that you would tell them to focus on if they decided to get their real estate license next week?
The one thing to focus on would be to study. And I mean, study the market, study the trends, know what's up. Because if you're just getting your real estate license, you don't have the experience. You don't have that to kind of shake around. So you need to be more knowledgeable than the average broker. Luckily, that's not very difficult. But you have to take the time to study the market, to study the trends, to understand price points, and be able to have high-level conversations, even though you haven't done 50 transactions or even 10, 15, but you know what all the average price points are. You know what a 2-bedroom rents for, sells for. You know what should be happening in this area. You know an opportunity because you're like, why are all these trading for 550? when this one's only asking 450.
Dude, it's hilarious. He just used the word trading, referring to real estate. Yeah. That's funny because that's normally a term reserved for stocks crypto, things like that. Yeah. This thing's trading at 550. I'm like, what?
That's what it is when you're into the, because I mean, again, it continued to evolve. We'll go into the different chapters of real estate that I have right now. But as this is all going on in 2017, I started buying a lot of property.
Nice.
So I start focusing on that's when I really dive into, all right, let's start doing BRRRRs, So I do one flip with this group actually who was working with me through 2013 onwards, buying the properties.
Yeah.
We partner up, we do a flip together. I think I end up pulling out like 175 grand for that flip.
Oh, so you BRRRRed it though? You still own it?
No, that was a flip.
Oh, that was
the
a flip.
Initial flip.
Okay, gotcha.
As a capital raise, essentially.
Amazing.
So we crushed it. It was the most expensive triplex sold in Plateau, I think, in 2017.
Amazing.
We destroyed it.
Was it a similar method with the students or was this different?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we buy property, crap rents. I mean, this property was... This property on the third floor, which was the top floor of this building, had a gutter on the inside of the property from a patch in the ceiling leading to the kitchen sink, because it was easier to do that than to replace the roof.
Wow.
That's a new level, man. That is a new level. I've never heard anything like that.
I remember the broker who pitched this to me. It was off market. And they're like, look, it needs work. I was like, it needs work? Like, look, you're going to see all sorts of Tyvek tarps on the ceiling. And there's one thing you've never seen before, but I think there's potential. And we do this walkthrough. I remember seeing this as like, is this for real?
So how much did you spend on that? So you bought it for how much? You spent how much?
Rough. We bought it for 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay.
Ended up putting in 400 grand into it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
That includes renovation. That includes tenant payoffs. We paid one tenant, I think it was 35 grand.
What?
Right.
Whoa.
He knew his rights. He knew that he could stay there. And it's like, this is what it's going to cost to get me out.
Wow.
Another tenant took, I think, 3,500 or 5 grand, right? Like that's the spread between what we're working with here. And then it was the full renovation. We did a full rehab, right? Like entirely maximize the bedrooms that we could do.
Did you do standard financing or did you have to go private?
Went standard.
Yep.
So
awesome.
we financed it entirely standard up
The reason I asked that is because you mentioned it was in the Plateau. And for those of everybody listening is that getting standard financing in the Plateau is not a super easy task depending on what you're buying because they're not usually very structurally sound and banks typically don't like that.
So structure was okay. We had to put a bit of work into it, but it was nothing crazy.
Nice.
And we're buying a triplex in the Plateau for 600.
Yeah.
So it was just like the bank really didn't see an opportunity for them to lose on this.
Gotcha.
So they gave us standard financing on that. We went private on the
renovation.
Yeah. So that 400 of renovation, payout, et cetera, we took that on our private essentially, separate.
Okay. Yep.
And then once we stabilized the entire property, we sold it for 1.55.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Wow.
So, and that was like, wow. Split that 3 ways, and that's where the 175 roughly comes from.
Beautiful.
Right. So it was amazing. Took that, started deploying the capital.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Reinvest. So today I have about 64 doors in my portfolio.
Amazing.
Nice.
And we're working on our first development right now. So we're doing ground up development, 9 unit, 8 residential.
Who's building?
CS Construction.
Okay.
There's going to be our builders on it. That's been a fun learning experience. So a huge curveball with
city
permits.
That's one thing I've never done from scratch is building right from the ground up.
Me neither. And huge learning experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And it's been especially like we bought this November 2020. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you about the process because a lot of people think of it as like, okay, yeah, you're just going to build. Like, I just want to build a place here. Let me just, it's The Sims. It's built.
Must be nice.
Yeah, exactly. Like, plop, here it is. No. Like, you have to go through how many doors are you allowed? You have to go through the stuff with the city.
Accessibility.
Yeah. How
Materials.
many doors are you even allowed? Is it commercial and residential? Is it
percentage?
Yeah. And what percentage is technically low income? I don't know if you had to go through that, but yeah.
Have you started digging at all, or have you? Yeah.
So we now have a big hole.
Okay.
We're very proud of our big hole.
To the hole. You made
So
it.
the property originally was a duplex with a vacant land next to it.
Okay.
We bought it in November 2020, middle of the pandemic. Still thinking like, yeah, we'll be able to do this, but the City of Montreal office is closed for half the year. It's really interesting how not all the employees are ever there at the same important time.
Yeah.
So the process has been very drawn out. And again, we had the COVID excuse for everything. Like, it's slow, COVID, work from home, da-da-da-da-da. But lo and behold, we're at the final stages. I think we're deposing our bank guarantee this week or next week, essentially, and then we'll get the final permit issued. But we had our demo permit after we went through the PCCMYs, all the kind of different processes and stuff. And
how long has this all taken just to get to a hole?
November 2020 we made the hole July 2023.
Oh my God, brutal.
It took 3 years to build a hole.
3 years to dig a hole, and then we got stopped.
That's hilarious.
So again, investment side, development side now. In 2019, one of the brokers was working with me. He's like, hey, like, I know we get a lot of demand for people asking like property management. Like, why don't we? I was like, sure, let's open a property management company at the same time. So we do property management now as well.
Well, with 64 doors, it's kind of silly not to.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. I was like, yeah, let's build something where we can have somebody helping out.
Because you can also wash the money a little bit too from, you're paying your own company.
And that's exactly it. So I think at this point we have like an additional 40-ish doors from other clients.
Oh, that's awesome.
Who are paying into it.
Okay.
And then it helps kind of.
So you got 100 doors under management, give or take.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So those are kind of the three main things I do in real estate right now. We have the brokerage, we have the investment side, and we have the property management.
Beautiful.
That's where I'm split up. And that's been the huge growth in terms of the buying. And I got to do a bunch of burrs, got to learn about different financing options, got to go into more commercial. The sixplexes start with kind of residential financing, improving them, refinancing on the commercial side.
One of the things I always say is that real estate might not be your end-all passion in life, but it's such a cool vehicle.
It's the coolest.
And we just in this short period of our conversation together, you've displayed with tangible evidence where that vehicle can take you. And it's taken you into all these different places, and it's all been very, very lucrative, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, man, congratulations on everything that you've
you.
hit up. That's amazing.
But also with vertical income, there's no way to have achieved what you could achieve financially with what you have now.
Yep.
Impossible.
If you were trying to make all of that money, it just wouldn't happen. Also, because you can have different companies to put the money through, you don't lose as much of it to the government.
Offsets, just everything, like it's.
And it all started with a real estate license.
It all started with a real estate license.
That's it.
One of the things I actually want to double back to is you were talking about one of the things that we always talk about when we're looking for real estate agents who can be really good at real estate is, do they have previous success in sports? Right.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, that literally is one of our interview questions.
Yeah. Well, the moment you said it, I was like, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. So are there things that you look for in an agent, like qualities that you're looking for whenever you're recruiting someone?
So there definitely are, but I'm definitely going to say that I've refined that significantly. Like last week, we had a huge brainstorm session with my team, with my leadership committee, if you will, being like, all right, what does our ideal broker look like?
Nice.
To really like lay this out and cut out the noise. Because prior to this year, prior to kind of even the reduction in the team, it was always like, I'm not going to go recruit anybody. If somebody wants to work for us, they're going to reach out to me, and then I'll have an interview and kind of see if it's a good fit or not. And that's going to be the policy right now. That's how we're doing it. And that worked fine, obviously. But now it's
not very specific. Like to see if it's a good fit, there's nothing to check off the box.
Exactly. So in part of improving the organization, really becoming just more dialed in, it's like, all right, this is what we need. This is what we're looking for. In exchange, we're going to give this, and really just kind of have our offer versus what we're looking for very, very clear so that we attract the right people.
Nice. So when you're building that persona, what does it look like?
What does it look like now, or what had it looked like?
Now. Yeah, let's operate under the positive assumption that this is what's happening moving forward.
So right now, that persona looks like our ideal broker is going to be somebody who is, first of all, very motivated.
Yep.
Very dedicated, who's hungry, so has need.
Hunger, for sure.
People who are comfortable.
Sorry, has need.
Need.
Define that. Like, tell me.
Financial need.
Okay.
To be quite frank,
they don't live at home.
Anybody who is financially comfortable, I'd be very few and far between who succeed at real estate when you're very financially comfortable, because you have to do the uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
And the person who's living in comfort right now probably isn't going to want to do the uncomfortable things.
100%.
It's less uncomfortable to do the uncomfortable things we do as realtors than their current living situation.
100%.
So they do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? So, and I don't need you to be homeless or anything. I just need you to make sure that you have a why. You have a reason, a raison d'être. You have something that's really pushing you forward, whether that's a family, whether that's parents you need to support, whether that's the fact that, hey, you've made all these changes, you coming off of a sports injury that stopped your career and you have to pivot. There has to be a need driving you, because comfort doesn't get us very far.
No.
So we've got that. Technologically literal. We use a lot of technology, like we're super adept.
Yep.
We've even included you need to be on a Mac and an iPhone, just because we run all of our systems through Apple.
We used to do that too.
We used to have that as a requisite.
Yeah. No, I'm. It is what it is. This is how it's going to work, and this is how we have all of our group chats and whatnot. This is what makes sense for us. So be it.
Yeah. We let the androids come into our team and ruin everything with WhatsApp.
No.
Yeah, I know, it's brutal. I hate those green bubbles.
Nevertheless, I've gone through a couple of them. Hungry to learn. Somebody who wants to learn. Like I not to toot my own horn, but I have knowledge to pass. I have know-how to pass along. But you got to be at the office wanting to pick up on these things. If you want to work
enough to
from
actually
home,
use it.
every single day, and not be present and not take part.
So So you obviously have these prerequisites because something along the line happened. We know we've had good hires and we've had bad hires, and you learn along the way. So is there like a big lesson that you've learned along the way from bad hires that's kind of made you realize, I have a need now to do this so that I don't keep getting that issue that occurred?
Definitely. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I think the biggest need was after spending some time or enough time with people who, first of all, don't have a driving why, who don't know what they want or why they want it. I can't solve that for them. We can have as many conversations as we want about it. We can do as many brainstorming sessions as we want about it. We can do as many goal setting sessions as we want about it. Until that person finds what that is, that driver, or has a need that's going to push them to find it, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
You know, and that person's not going to be motivated to make their calls, to show up, to reach out, to build a business. It's not going to work.
Yeah. That it kind of makes me think of whenever we have new hires. You had mentioned earlier one of the things that's really important for the new agents coming in is to study the market and learn really a lot about the market. We are very big on learn people, like start learning about people, understand more about the medium you're going to be working with. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're selling houses, but we're also selling houses with people in it, to people who need it, who have lives and passions and stuff like that. And if you have these things, these prerequisites for people that you're looking for, you'll have these prerequisites in your team as they come in. So now How to Win Friends and Influence People is the one on the book list. I can imagine probably like finding your why.
We have a book club as well. So every month we're reading a new book, right? And all these books are kind of on it. And there's a couple like, hey, even though that was last year's book, you got to go read that one. Like we need you to
we implemented something because obviously you got the tour of our office just before. Everything's very like sports based.
Yeah.
So we started this thing where when you come onto the team, you have 4 weeks. We call it the combine, like the NFL combine.
Yeah.
And if you don't accomplish the 4 weeks, you just keep restarting it until you do finish it. And then once you finish it, we decide whether we want to draft you.
Okay.
So part of that is first 2 weeks you got to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. The last 2 weeks you have to read To Sell Is Human.
Okay.
So we've isolated that those are the most important books to have somebody read on the
team.
on the team to be able to get them competent enough to keep going. Mm-hmm. So what's amazing about what you've done is we're going to talk about the future of what we believe the future of real estate is, but you've already kind of pivoted in that way by going into the property management side of things. But where do you see real estate, not necessarily from a market perspective, because we can speculate all we want. We'd probably do a better job than some of the guys in Ottawa, but more than that is just from like more of a holistic stance of the real estate industry. Where do you think that's going in, let's say, 5 to 20 years?
Okay, so
I give you a really, really big time frame there.
Sorry about like,
that. 520, and then let's go 100. No, I'm kidding.
We are all robots. It is 100 years.
We're all cyborgs.
ChatGPT is taking over the world.
Exactly. It's bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Look, shorter term, I think the goal is people want a one-stop shop as much as possible.
Yeah.
So the more services you can provide, whether that's through even just a professional reference, a professional partner, whatever that might be, to kind of streamline the process. We have gotten to a certain extent lazy as humans. We're used to 2 clicks, property items are at our house in a day at Amazon, sometimes same day. And we're in Montreal, people forget about it.
And if we have to pay for it, we're mad.
Exactly.
Yeah, part of it.
So I was talking to my wife yesterday, and it was like I was going to order this, but the shipping was $13.99. Are they crazy? Are they crazy? No, I ordered it to the store. I'm going to pick it up. I was like, all right, all right.
That's hilarious.
So ancillary businesses, yes. Whether it's through partnerships, through mortgage brokers, insurance brokers, notaries, whatever partnerships you can set up, other businesses, obviously. And again, you have to be careful with conflict of interest. There are different things to consider in this. But it could even just be reciprocal agreements where obviously if you work with the best people in the industry, like I always know, I refer the people I like because I know they do a good job. Like I go to sleep very easy every night because I know none of my clients, and I'm not going to deal with a lawsuit because the people I'm telling them to hire are the best at what they do.
Yeah.
And if they're no longer the best at what they do, they no longer get referred by us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very simple.
Yeah,
so all it takes is one thing that was like, that was kind of, no, all right, sorry. That there's no second chances on this because our brand is our reputation and I can't mess with that.
Yeah, 100%.
So other businesses like property management, and I think the property management is going to be more of a long-term play because upfront it's definitely a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of, it's not a high revenue driver.
It sells well though. The multipliers are great right now for property management companies.
So that's going to be one future option. The next thing is obviously it's close contact to clients.
Yes,
You're managing
it's
the
the best
properties.
way to get leads, because if you're managing those 40 properties right now, how many of those are going to want to sell or buy
who else is
more
gonna sell
or
these
whatever?
properties? Right.
Yeah.
They're not calling another broker to take
There's
care
no
of it.
chance,
It's
'cause
all
like you
in-house.
said-
it's all vertically integrated.
And it's
Simplicity.
laziness.
Of course.
It's like I'm getting my newsletter from LJ every month. Click the button to list the property. Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
No
So-
shipping.
I promise there will never be a shipping fee.
The contracts are delivered same day.
But it's anything you can get into, whether that's construction partner. Again, and it gets very touchy because construction in particular, like trusting somebody. I've had contractors do a great job once, twice, thrice, and the fourth time it's a botch job.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why anytime I refer a contractor, it's with a buyer beware. He's been good so far, but in my experience, contractors will always drop the ball at some point. So I can't promise or guarantee anything.
Yeah.
Or one of the things we've seen a lot is they build up the reputation and then their prices just go like through the roof.
I almost wish that was the case, because to me it's always been either drop the ball or get overwhelmed. Essentially, have too many jobs to manage all at once, and they don't have the team to do it, and then all of a sudden everything gets messed up.
Not everybody's the same thing as real estate. Not everybody's really designed to be a business owner.
Of course.
So that's why they gravitate to a Team Ridge or a team or anything like that, where they get that guidance. But these people that probably started off just being able to swing a hammer well, they've got this construction business now, and they don't know how to run it like a business. If they had a great implementer by their side, it would be a different situation, but they almost never do. They're always trying to run it themselves.
It's great you bring that up, because again, we've been kind of restructuring a lot of things we do and really focusing on what's working, what's not, where are our weaknesses. Let's fix all these things going into 2024 so we can hit the ground running and really grow and offer the appropriate services to our clients, to our brokers on our team, etc. And one of the big conversations I had was like, although naturally I was an IS, I've now become a huge D, right? Like I have all the ideas.
Hey, don't say that about yourself, man. Come on. We're talking about personality types, guys. We're not talking about huge Ds. We're good.
And I need my team, like my leadership committee, essentially to step up and do the implementation and crush these ideas. And we've been doing a good enough job, but there's a lot of meat left on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the gap between where we are today and where we want to be, and the future of this business, and the future of how everybody's going to get to earn and really live off of this, you know?
I think that's the exciting side of the team side of real estate, is there is so much more left on the bone.
Yeah.
And when you realize that, there's so much more you can be doing, and every little thing you do, you see the results from it. And it's just the amount of effort put into doing each different thing, what you get back.
And having the tough conversations.
Yeah, man. I say that all the time. Your ability to have difficult conversations is going to be the level of success you have.
That's it.
Dude, I don't even remember how many times I've said that. I think I've said that like 300 times.
Bad hires is the big one, I think, for teams.
But I think Logan's always hire fast, fire faster.
Yeah, well, we try to. You know, it's one of those things that I tell myself you got to be better at. You got to fire fast, fire fast, fire fast. But there's always people that stick around because of like really good excuses. Like, how many times can your dog die? You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, one of the guys we hired, he was late one time, and we still make fun of it to this day. But he said something along the lines that, and I swear this is not exaggerated. I got a text from him, and he said, "I lost my keys in the backyard. My dog, I think, grabbed it, and I'm looking for it, but I think it might be chewed up. I'm running a little bit behind. Also," it was just the most.
You never?
Dude, it was like the most long, convoluted thing of like,
my car's in the shop.
So we joked around. It was just like he looked up, he used ChatGPT, said, "What are all the excuses?" And he gave all of them simultaneously. Lost my keys. Dog ate them. It's in the grass in the backyard. I can't find it. I'm still looking for it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it was so funny. So like somebody like that, he just stayed too long.
Yeah.
You know. And that's, for me, that's extreme ownership on my part. Is like I owed it to the team to get rid of people who are not taking it seriously much quicker. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is when you're spread really thin, it's really tough to have an eagle eye on everything across all of your businesses that you're running. So back to the kind of the future of real estate, I'm totally with you. I think it's definitely going to focus on the ancillary services. The reason for it is because of the commission squeeze. Mm-hmm. You're seeing people list properties at 3% now. It's insane.
Quite regularly.
It's like, makes me want to puke a little bit, but it is what it is. It's a normal kind of squeeze. Mm-hmm. What's really interesting is at the same time, during the market shift that we're happening right now, the value of a buyer is higher. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing NXRs signed at 4% getting accepted. Yeah.
We're getting 4s accepted. Yeah.
Dude, we had 3 of our agents get 4s accepted this week.
Good for you. That's incredible.
Insane.
Honestly, that is very.
Oh, thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. No, it's silly, but it's because the buyers are more valuable right now. That would never fly in a seller's market, but because we're in a buyer's market now, they've got no offers on the table. So what are they going to do? They can either see this guy walk away to another property, or this family walk away to another property, or they pay the extra $6,000.
Yeah.
I don't think the issue in those situations is really the seller. I think a lot of the listing agents in those situations, they struggle because they're like, why are you getting paid double what I'm getting paid? I'm the listing agent.
Because you didn't do your job.
Because you didn't do it.
But that's it.
Because you didn't ask.
As the listing broker, whenever I see somebody come with an AR, I'm so happy because they've got everything under control. You got an AR with your client. You got a BCP with your client. You're showing me you're a professional. You're showing me you got everything in line. Like, I can trust you now.
Yeah.
So the amount extra, that's whatever. You've earned that, and now we're gonna go down to what is
ultimately like the price is what's on the Annex R, and that's where a lot of people get convoluted. Like, but the 4.1 on the promise to purchase has this, and it's no. Like, pretend that number doesn't exist. They're offering you this much. Doesn't matter who, how, what, where. That's what the offer is.
Yeah,
everything
such
else
a
is
simple
emotional.
way of that's such a simple way of explaining it.
That's it, and.
But it is a commission squeeze down. Sure. We can all agree on that. So it's okay. So how do you still run a profitable real estate business when you know that every single year your average commission is going down 10, 15, 20%? Eventually it's going to go down to pretty close to zero. You're seeing Zillow in the States. It hasn't hit us here yet, but Zillow in the States just announced that they're upping their referral fee from 35 to 40% on Zillow Flex. Means if we give you these qualified leads, give us almost half your money.
Wow.
So what is that telling us? That means that they're all in on the fact that if they've got a buyer, they know how much it's worth. Wow. And they know that realtors are just going to pay whatever because they're starving.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to continue to squeeze downward. So if you've got somebody that's willing to buy, or you've got somebody that's willing to sell, what other services do they also simultaneously need to use? So here in Montreal, they have to have insurance if they're buying a property. They just have to. It's not an option. Well, I think if you buy cash, a mortgage. Yeah, if they're buying cash, then maybe you can make the decision. But
not a wise one.
No, not a wise one at all. No. So you have to have insurance. Typically you're going to get a mortgage, right? You're going to have to work with a notary if you're a buyer. There's all these other services that, in theory, if you're running like a 10,000 foot view of running a mega real estate business, you'd own all of it. So I think the future of real estate is the larger organizations will partner and actually like open businesses with a notary. Like like my goal in 5-10 years time is to own a notary practice, is to own a small mortgage brokerage, to own a small insurance company.
Yeah.
And to just have the clients that come to Montreal's Elite Real Estate Group, this is who you're working with, everybody here. And also property management. But that's next year.
Yeah.
I don't have as many doors as you, though.
Does that mean
because you did more flips?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I flipped way too many. Dude, we were just doing a freaking audit, me and Bruce, with all of our flips, and we were looking at them. We're like, why the hell did we sell these?
I saw you. I remember you posting about the checks and stuff. I'm like, look, he's crushing it. But I was playing the equity game. You were playing the girly capital game.
Yeah, no. So translation for those of you listening, LJ was playing the smart game. Logan was playing the stupid game because all your money is still there. All my money is all my money is gone. It's invested. Invested. It's on my wrist. It's on this thing. It's in my house. It's whatever. Like, no, it's all gone. Yeah. But it's funny, man. Money comes and money goes, but equity 100%. is what creates wealth.
And it's been fun this year because I've got the biggest squeeze this year, right? Like interest rates are up. I have private loans, obviously, on different projects that I'm going on, different things, right? So I felt the squeeze. I think I paid probably close to $250,000 in interest this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at this. I'm like, oh, look at next year. Oh, interest rates are coming back down. Well, my Charlottesville project, the development, which looked really, really good, and then through higher interest rates and construction costs going up tremendously, looked really, really bad. And it was like, all right, we're paying for learning experience. This week, we've got really positive news, being like, oh, it's looking like a really good project again, or at least a solid project again, with everything happening. So it's really interesting to see kind of this wave that I've been seeing in everything, but by holding on to it, by staying true to it, well, the equity is sitting there and the rest of the portfolio is going to grow up in value again. And all of a sudden, everything's going to be rosy and dandy again. It'll just be one refinance away from a regular bank loan, killing everything else off, or the properties continue paying everything down solo.
Yeah.
So
you even have baked into the project, you have like safeties that just naturally occurred while time progressed.
I mean, I was going to eat some of these safeties. It was just kind of part of the pay to play, pay to learn kind of thing.
Yeah.
But me and my partner on that said, like, we got to start somewhere.
Doesn't it suck that all the biggest lessons are the most expensive?
Always. But like, and that's it. Like, my perspective on that is always just put your head down, do the work. As long as you don't stop, it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
It's a lot of self-confidence that plays into that too, because if you didn't have confidence in yourself and your ability to make money, to raise capital, all this stuff, if you didn't have confidence in that, you'd be so scared.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the beautiful thing about being in real estate and being able to create something from nothing is that you typically don't get scared about that, because you know at the end of the day, if your back was up against the wall, you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to go make like 30 grand.
And that's what it's been. Every time it's been tight, it's pushed me to do what I have to do. And all of a sudden,
You're not
3 extra transactions, and like, okay, we're good. Yeah. To the next one, you know. And it's also made me reflect on being like, we have to reorganize how I use my time. Like right now, we're not leveraging my time the best as possible, and it's been a part of a time audit and part of the things that we're implementing again in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But we really need to get me out of all the non-dollar producing activities, because my education background was accounting, finance, entrepreneurship.
Nice.
I still have been involved, or I was doing the bookkeeping for years for the company. I've now offloaded that, but just little things that aren't the most productive have still been sucking too much of my time, and we're just really offloading all of that. So I can really just focus on maintaining relationships that bring additional business, bring in the referrals, etc. Talking to people and dealing with tougher situations where I can step in and help out the brokers or whatever has to be done to make sure that everything that needs to gets to the finish line, or that needs to gets away from the finish line and kind of pivot as quickly as possible.
Well, also get in the habit of being able to offload some of the work that you're doing, because it is really hard when you're in the CEO position to let go of certain things, especially if you've been doing, like you said, the bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is always one of the hardest ones for CEO to actually.
Not for me.
Not for me.
No, I've never liked it. So I didn't have any kind of background in accounting. My background in accounting was I was 16 years old in my dad's basement running through receipts with him because he was getting audited.
Okay.
So I had to like label it and run the kilometers to and from Home Depot for all the different things and creating the spreadsheets. That's my background in accounting.
So from the time I was like 13 years old, every quarter my dad would give me his like bag of receipts.
You did the GST QST for your dad every quarter?
I would essentially sum up, all right, what was meals and entertainment, what was gas, what was this, that, boom, boom, do the math on it, here it is, present it, like, all right, here it is, Dad. And he'd go and he'd file, and that was that.
So talk about the best strategy to get your kid to learn how to be fiscally responsible.
At the time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, this is what I have to do. This is the task. This is how I do it. And then I started the business. I'm like, I'm doing it for myself. I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy. I just had an Excel spreadsheet.
That's
it all
so
in, like,
awesome.
Did all my returns, and then grew from there. And then obviously implemented QuickBooks, whatever. But just understanding some very micro things of the business at a high level, because it was just normal to me. This is how I'm gonna have to spend a couple hours tomorrow. Like, this is what it is.
That's hilarious, man. That's so cool. I love that. So both of you guys, question for both of you. Moving into 2024, what do you think the market's going to look like in 2024?
I'm so excited.
Yeah?
I'm licking my chops. I'm so excited.
Okay. So are you looking at your chops from a brokerage standpoint or from an investment standpoint?
Nope. Prices are coming back up.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, look, the reality is consumer confidence has been down, right? Interest rates are high. People have been priced out. Like, no matter how we want to cut it, that's what's been happening.
Yeah. Affordability is down like 22%.
Of course. Rents are up 13%.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to pretty soon be pretty apparent as soon as interest rates come back down, like we saw in the spring when they were between 4.5 to 4.8, and we had a little buyer frenzy again.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get anywhere close to that, people are going to be unleashed because they're going to recognize that we're not going back to 2.5. That's all I want.
Yeah, that's never. Yeah.
But if we're not getting burnt at 6+, we're in a really good position.
Yeah.
So what's the most I can truly afford right now under these 4.5, 4.8, 5, 5.10, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to get into it, because as soon as interest rates come back down, prices are going to go up, and it's going to cost me an extra $100,000 to get into the property I want next year.
Yep.
So everybody who's been on the sidelines for the last 12 to 18 months, and that I've been telling, like, you've been waiting for the crash. What happened like June last year? Like, you missed it already.
There's also the FHSA is going to be coming due for the second
16 grand all of a sudden. Yeah.
Yep, that extra $8,000. So that's going to be a huge driver as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a pretty crazy spring, I think.
You have people who are using the $8,000 like now and depositing another $8,000 January 1st if they need to.
And they're also talking about increasing amortization periods as well. In addition, right? So imagine the interest rates come down to 4.5 or 5 even, and they're giving you an extra 10. That'd be insane, because like you said, if the rent's going up, then they're going to look at that and be like, wait a second, no. You know, doctor, do you concur?
No, I'm right there with you. I've always been of the mind that when the interest rates are high, right, the prices are supposed to come down. We really didn't see prices drop that much.
We did 10% correction at the worst of it.
That's it.
It's part of the Quebec effect, obviously. Like we were sheltered from a lot of it because of political instability, whatever you want to call it, obviously. And that's why we don't get the same gains.
Yeah.
But at the worst of it, we had 10%. Again, certain markets may have been affected a bit more, but overall, that's what we saw.
Yep.
I mean, that's really stable.
But it's not bad when you think about it. Yeah, it's really not bad, especially when you're looking at, like you said, other markets in Canada, like Toronto, Vancouver, that are down 30% like 30
in like 2 months.
Yeah,
brokers
insane.
And like people who bought like in March, in May wanted to kill their broker. Like, how did you help me do this? I'm like, well, what do you mean? That was the market price 2 months. It was not my fault. Like,
yeah, but I do think that to your point, the question will be the interest rates. The questions will be, what do they do with the amortization periods? I think the FHSA is going to have a part to play.
Oh, yeah. We did that thing where we said an acronym and didn't explain it.
Sorry. Yeah. First time home buyer savings account. Yeah. So everyone's going to have the ability to put, it's up to $40,000, but it's $8,000 every year that gets sheltered from taxes. So it works like the RAP program, which is the RSP program, but you don't have to pay it back. It's huge for first time home buyers, but actually better for people who probably aren't actually going to use it and they're going to roll it into things in the future. That's a high level maneuver, but that's going to open up a lot of doors for people. And I already know, being one of the people on our team who deals with buyers directly, I've got a boatload of people who are waiting for that second deposit so that they can go and just use the 16,000.
Because you say 16 and I use that at words as well, but a couple that buying has all of a sudden $32,000.
Yeah,
because it's 8 per cup, like per person. All of a sudden, 16
and they have
per.
Their 35 per from their RSPs.
Yeah,
it's an insane amount of money. That's
like that's and
not taxed.
The government of Canada has been trying to obviously cool off real estate, and they did very well this year.
Yep.
But this is just going to add fuel to the fire.
But that's it. This was just a speed bump.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other side too is a lot of people couldn't survive. We saw a mass exodus,
of course.
And we're seeing people not be able to make it now too. So the people who did survive and who are able to put in the work, also a lot of the people who can do the work and were comfortable before, who are getting uncomfortable now. It's going to.
Are you talking about realtors now?
I'm talking about realtors.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be an interesting
year.
There's
a massive amount of people that didn't renew their license.
Of course,
that's 100%.
And to be honest, like good. There's 16,000 brokers in Quebec. We don't need 16,000 brokers in Quebec.
No, we do not.
Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
And historically, it's 5 or 10% of the brokers control 95 or 90% of the market.
The way that I've always described it is that the average per year, sales per year per agent is like 3.5.
Is it 3? I thought it was 7.
No. So it's 3.5. Well, NAR says 3.5.
Okay.
So it's, what they're doing is they're not removing any outliers whatsoever. So somebody who just has their license that's just 0. Leaving it on hold, that's a 0 contributing.
Yeah.
So the realistic is probably 6 or 7, but actually, 3 to 4, which is insane. Like that doesn't even pay for your licensing and
nothing.
Well, they're paying what, $20 or $25 an hour at McDonald's. Like, you could just, well, I'm just saying, it'd be a lot easier to work at McDonald's than it would be to be a realtor. Who's
but then you can't post on Instagram how sexy your life is. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the McCafe has got pretty sexy.
I mean, that's true.
McCafe, you're right. It's like a signature series.
Exactly.
Oh man. LJ, you just had a child.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. How are you adjusting to family life with all of the stuff you've got going on?
Look, I have a great support system. My wife's been amazing. We've been very, very blessed. My daughter's been sleeping. We're hitting a little bit of regression now, but she's been.
That's normal. You're at 3.5 months or whatever. So yep.
But she's up to like 11 hours on most nights.
Oh.
Yeah. So knock on wood, like that. So all things considered, it's been quite manageable. And I was always a morning person. Like I'm up at 5:30 most days to get my workout in to do these things. So taking in that shift, so getting a bit of an hour in the morning, and then coming back ideally before 6 and spending those last 2 hours to put her to bed has been working super well for us.
Yeah.
With a couple of days of like, oh, let's go see Santa in the afternoon. Like, okay, pivot to that for a little bit. And so it's worked. I'm excited for this holiday season because we're lining up to go to Peru for 8 days. So we're going to try that. That's going to be first time traveling. And then we have a trip to Australia.
First time dad seeing.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah. No, my dad came in September for a month. So my dad came to see her and meet her and whatnot. But we've got that queued up and then 2.5 weeks in Australia. So we're
2.5 weeks. That's not enough time.
I mean, we got to get back to work at some point, right?
Let's do a little remote.
We're going down for a wedding.
Oh, okay.
So
nice. So you're making a trip of it.
Exactly. That was the driver. And it's like once this time of year, whatever, let's go. And
where are you going in Australia?
So Melbourne for the bulk of it. And then Sydney for 4 days on the way back.
Okay. So you're going to be East Coast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So no, looking forward to all that. And I'm excited to take my daughter through this and kind of expand her horizons a little bit. I know she's not going to remember most of it, but just the experiences, what we're going to go through. It's going to be a fun challenge, so I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
I have a buddy of mine who took his daughter through, well, they both did. They were taking the daughter traveling everywhere. And a lot of people were like, she's not going to sleep. You're going to mess up all of her sleep cycles. She's bomb proof now.
I was going to say, like, so what?
She's complete, but like it had the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Because she went everywhere and ended up being able to sleep anywhere. So now she's bomb proof.
We see signs of that. Like even we had our holiday party last week for our client appreciation, and last minute our babysitter got COVID, so we had to pivot. So all of a sudden Victoria came to the party.
Oh my God, that's hilarious!
She came to the party. Everybody was super excited to see her and meet her because everybody's been asking a bunch of questions, and all of a sudden they got her live, and she was good. She was there, and around 9:30, she fell asleep and she was chilling. And then right after some of the main parts, my wife was able to take off and go home with her and whatnot. But like, we've done that, and she's okay. She gets home, she goes back to sleep, and that's that, So
that's a major credit to your wife.
Yeah, and you know what? At one point she's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go." I was like, "Babe, honestly, whatever works easiest for you. Like, don't think twice about it." She's like, "No, I gotta be there." And boom, there she was. So that was awesome.
Nice. So you can have your cake and eat it too, is what you're saying. You can have all these businesses. You can have a lovely family. You can have it all.
I mean, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, but you can definitely have it all.
That's awesome.
It's funny because you said that, and I was like, man, it's partnership. But then I also realized in order for it to be partnership, there needs to be communication. Yeah. There needs to be a lot of talking. So there was a lot said in between the lines of what you just said there to be able to tell, like, that's communication. And a good business runs with good communication. A good family runs with good communication. So, hell yeah.
Your office is where?
So right now we are in the WeWork space in front of the Bell Center. So
cool.
Underneath Canada, yeah. That's where we've been. Wow. Okay. I opened up there February 2017. We were one of the first tenants there, and that was when we were a 2-person operation, even a 1-person operation, and then grew from a 2-person office to a 3 to a 4 to a 6 to an 8 to a 10 to now a 14-person office there. And that's been our space, and it's been great because I was supposed to have an office built about 2 years ago, but with the slowdowns of the development and whatnot, there's been a couple of road bumps, obviously, so it's just been easy to stay there. I looked at pivoting and going somewhere else, and then finally we came to terms with WeWork, and was able to renew for another year because now it really does look like within 12 months we'll have our offices built because in that development we're going to put our offices there.
Oh, sweet.
So that's the commercial unit. All right, so yeah, that's where we're heading right now. That's where we're at. That's been super helpful for us.
Where does the predominant amount of your sales come from a geographical perspective?
I would say realistically within 7 kilometers of my office. So Sud-West and Plateau. Okay. That's definitely been the bulk of it.
Awesome.
We do decent chunk in the West Island as well, some off island Vaudreuil. We'll do some Brossard, St. Lambert, etc., and then some chunk of Laval.
But we're thinking like it's 80-20, 80% happens very close to where your office is and 20% outskirts?
70-30.
Okay.
Yeah, in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So now, if somebody wants to join your team, Ridge, they're excited about getting into real estate, how do they find you?
You can find me on all socials. So Instagram, LJ Aguinaga, YouTube, I've been a huge driver, LJ Aguinaga on there as well. You can find me on Facebook. You can just call me. I'm very easily inaccessible. Like I want to meet people. I want to talk to people. I'm very direct in that sense. So yeah, hit me up on any of the socials and I'd be happy to chat, book a meeting with me on my Calendly, calendly.com/LJ Aguinaga. So however you want, easy to be found.
Awesome. LJ, thanks so much for having a discussion with us today. It was a pleasure to have you. Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Montreal's Elite Unleashed, the podcast for hustlers looking to level up their lives. Thanks again, LJ.
Thank you so much.